Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, and I'm back with another reaction for you. And someone has sent this to me and told me that I should watch this here, see what this is about. We're in Serbia, and this one is called Serbia in Light and Darkness. And I do believe it's a slight history of Serbia. Let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what it is we could learn about Serbia. Comment down in the comment section if you have more to add, or if you have any criticisms of what you see here, or want to make things straight. You know what I mean? Let's go.
A land where faith and fire have shaped centuries, where kings once built sanctuaries that stood longer than their own reigns. Serbia, a nation that has walked through both light and darkness, from the songs of its shepherds to the cries of its warriors, from the hands that built monasteries to the ones that bore chains under foreign rule. Every stone, every river, every name tells a story. But what happens when a nation's soul is tested for centuries? When suffering becomes tradition and resilience turns into legend? This is the story of Serbia, a tale of faith, struggle, and survival. A story that refuses to fade. Serbia, where the land itself whispers history. Its rivers have carried the echoes of both hymns and war cries. Its mountains have stood as sentinels over centuries of struggle and faith. This is a land where monasteries rise from the hills like silent storytellers, where every stone and every tree holds the memory of kings, monks, warriors, and poets. Nestled at the crossroads of East and West, Serbia has always been more than just a country. It is a bridge, a battlefield, a sanctuary. The Danube, the great artery of Europe, cuts through its heart, connecting civilizations, while the rugged terrain of the Dinaric Alps has shielded those who sought refuge from invaders. Its forests have hidden rebels, its plains have seen empires rise and fall. But Serbia's true strength is not in its geography alone, it is in its people. A people who have endured conquest and exile, yet never allowed their spirit to be broken. Through fire and chains, through prayers and songs, Serbia has remained. It is a nation where suffering is not just endured but transformed into wisdom, into poetry, into defiance. This is Serbia, a land of resilience, where history is not merely remembered but lived. There was a time when Serbia stood bathed in light, a kingdom of faith, culture, and ambition. A land where kings were not just rulers, but visionaries, where warriors fought not just for land, but for a legacy. In the medieval era, Serbia flourished, forging its identity through faith, art, and governance. One name stands above all in this golden age: Saint Sava. More than a prince, more than a monk, he was the soul of Serbia, the architect of its spiritual foundation. Born as Rastko Nemanjić, the son of Grand Prince Stefan Nemanja, he abandoned the throne for a higher calling, retreating to Mount Athos to become a monk. But his destiny was not solitude. It was to guide his people. In 1219, he secured autocephaly, independence, for the Serbian Orthodox Church, making it a pillar of national identity. Through his
To hear about it, but actually, there's not a lot being said about Serbia. There's not a lot being said about that whole Balkan region. So a lot of people don't know what's going on there. They don't understand what's going on there. They only understand when it becomes politically viable for this region or other regions of the world. You know what I mean? And I think that's one reason why I'm interested in that region there as much as I am, because nobody seemed to know much about it. Now, the influx of Serbian basketball players coming to this side of the world to play basketball or football or even tennis players, people may become interested, because in a way that's why I became interested in that region there is to the Olympics. I heard about these places and I'm like, wow, what are these places? What is it like there? What are the people like? You know what I mean? And I'm not one big to go by, oh, I see the news, there's a war going on, there's a fight going on there. Now, maybe before our revolutions and stuff, I thought like that. But then once I realized the parallel of revolutionary ideas and thinking, or even just unrest in general, then I want to know about these places, because there's a sort of parallel going on, you know what I mean? People struggling for freedom, struggling for rights and stuff like that. Now, I don't hold a side here or a side there because I'm really interested in the people themselves, because that's where we find the common ground in our humanity, us as a people. You know what I'm saying? As a human race, period.
His tireless efforts, he spread literacy, education, and Christian values, creating a spiritual backbone for the nation. Under the rule of King Milutin, Serbia saw an explosion of artistic and architectural grandeur. His patronage led to the construction of some of the most breathtaking monasteries, Studenica, Gračanica, and Visoki Dečani. These were not just places of worship, they were fortresses of culture, preserving manuscripts, fostering literacy, and becoming sanctuaries for faith in times of darkness. Each fresco that adorned their walls spoke of biblical stories. Each stone carried prayers of a people deeply devoted to their faith. Then came Stefan Dušan, a ruler whose ambition knew no bounds. Crowned as Emperor of the Serbs and Greeks, he sought to forge a great Balkan empire. His military campaigns expanded Serbia's influence, bringing under its rule vast territories of Macedonia, Albania, and northern Greece. But his greatest legacy was not in conquest, it was in law. The Dušan's Code, 1349, a legal masterpiece, established justice and order, setting standards for governance that influenced Serbian and Balkan legal traditions for centuries. His rule brought prosperity, strengthening trade and diplomatic ties with European powers. Yet, Serbia's brilliance was not just in its kings or monasteries, it lived in its people. The land resonated with epic poetry, sung by guslers, wandering bards who kept history alive through song. Tales of heroes like Prince Marko and Miloš Obilić were passed down through generations, embedding courage and honor into the national consciousness. For a time, Serbia was a beacon of civilization, a nation shaping its destiny with faith and wisdom. But light does not last forever. A storm was coming, one that would shroud Serbia in centuries of darkness. The battle was no longer just for land, but for the very survival of the Serbian soul. Darkness fell upon Serbia like a heavy storm, slowly at first, then all at once. The golden age of Serbian kings had come to an end, and in its place, the shadow of foreign rule crept in. The year was 1389, and the fields of Kosovo would soon be stained with blood. The Battle of Kosovo, a name that still echoes in the hearts of Serbs today. It was here, on June 28th, that Serbian forces under Prince Lazar faced the mighty Ottoman Empire. The battle was brutal, fierce, and tragic. Though the Serbs fought valiantly, the tide of history was against them. Prince Lazar was captured and executed, and the Serbian army, despite its heroism, was crushed. But Kosovo was more than a battle. It was a symbol, a moment that defined the Serbian spirit for centuries to come. Though Serbia did not immediately fall under Ottoman rule, its fate had been sealed. The following decades saw further invasions, betrayals, and the slow erosion of Serbian independence. Finally, in 1459, the once proud Serbian despotate fell to the Ottomans. The Empire of the Crescent had triumphed, and Serbia was now a land of occupied souls. For nearly 500 years, the Serbian people endured the weight of foreign rule. The Ottomans imposed their laws, their language, their faith, Serbian churches were desecrated, some converted into mosques. The nobility was crushed, their lands confiscated. The Christian population was subjected to devshirme, the infamous blood tax, a practice where young Serbian boys were taken from their families, converted to Islam, and trained as janissaries, elite warriors of the Ottoman Sultan. Some rose to power, but most never saw their homeland again. Yet, despite the oppression, the Serbian soul refused to die. The people did not forget who they were. In secret, they whispered their history. In the dark corners of their homes, they sang the old songs. The guslars, wandering bards, kept the legends alive. They sang of...
You know, that's kind of what happened in the Caribbean area with African slaves. When the African slaves were brought there, they had mixed them up in different languages. So, you know, there was a sort of kaleidoscope of beliefs and stuff like that. But still, things like voodoo and obia and certain African spiritualities emerged from that. They survived all of that because that stuff was like against the law and all that stuff for them to practice. And one of the ways they did it was the Catholic Church was there. So what they did is some of the deities and stuff from their religion in Africa, they sort of equated them to the deities in the Catholic Church, which kept them kind of alive, you know what I mean, over the years and things like that. Now, most people don't really practice that much back home now, as far as I understand. You hear it in the music and stuff like that, but, you know, when I was there was a lot of, like, we call it obia, we don't call it voodoo on the island. There's a lot of obia men and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, the Baptists are like a Protestant religion, but what we call people who practice obia on the island, we call them fire Baptists. So you see, there's a merger of the two religions that kept one religion that was sort of demonized alive. So you see how the Serbian people kept themselves alive by, you know, telling the stories, because that's how it was, you know, on the island, and just keeping it alive. Although we didn't have like great warriors and stuff, because it's just a little island. We don't have that much battles to speak of. We have our own, like Julius Fedon, you know, and some people here and there, but not as much. This is thousands of years, you know what I mean? But a slight sort of similarity in the way things were, as far as how the people maintain their identity and culture.
Prince Lazar and the Kosovo myth, a story of sacrifice and faith. Better to die in honor than to live in shame. This became the guiding principle of an enslaved nation. Religion, too, became an act of resistance. The Serbian Orthodox Church, though weakened, remained a beacon of identity. Monasteries hidden in the mountains continued to teach the Serbian language, to preserve the faith, to pass on the names of kings long gone. The Ottomans could rule the land, but they could never truly rule the soul.
Yeah.
Rebellions flared up time and again. The Serbs refused to be silent. Peasant uprisings, guerrilla warfare, secret brotherhoods, all sought to defy Ottoman rule, though most were crushed with brutal force. The 17th and 18th centuries saw waves of migrations, as Serbs fled north to escape persecution, settling in what is now Vojvodina and parts of Hungary. These exiles carried their culture with them, ensuring that Serbia's spirit remained unbroken even beyond its borders. But perhaps the greatest tragedy of Ottoman rule was not just the oppression, it was the long, slow erosion of Serbian sovereignty. A nation that once stood proud among European kingdoms was now reduced to a forgotten corner of an empire. The West moved forward, while Serbia remained shackled in the past, waiting for the moment when the chains would finally break. And yet, through all the darkness, through all the suffering, the Serbian people endured. Their faith never wavered, their songs never faded, their hope never died. They waited, not in despair, but in defiance. And when the time came, When the world shifted and empires began to crack, Serbia would rise again. 5 centuries of darkness, 5 centuries of waiting, suffering and resisting, but no chains last forever. And when the moment came, Serbia did not hesitate. It rose with fire in its heart, ready to reclaim what was stolen. The First Serbian Uprising, 1804 to 1813, was not just a rebellion, it was an awakening. The Serbian people, tired of oppression, rallied under the leadership of Karađorđe Petrović, a man of iron will and unwavering courage. The Ottomans had ruled for centuries, but Serbia had not forgotten how to fight. Armed with old rifles and unbreakable determination, Serbian insurgents launched a war for liberation. The uprising saw victories, cities reclaimed, and Ottoman forces driven back. Belgrade, the heart of Serbia, was taken in 1806, and for the first time in centuries the Serbian flag flew free. But the empire struck back. In 1813, after years of struggle, the Ottomans returned with overwhelming force. Villages were burned, rebels executed, and Serbia was once again shackled. Karađorđe fled into exile, and the dream of freedom seemed lost. But the Serbs had tasted liberation, and they would not forget. Only 2 years later, in 1815, the flames of resistance burned once more. This time, under the leadership of Miloš Obrenović, the Serbs took a different approach, a revolt mixed with diplomacy. The Second Serbian Uprising saw fierce battles, but it also saw negotiation. Obrenović played a careful game, securing autonomy for Serbia within the Ottoman Empire. It was not full independence, but it was a step forward. Throughout the 19th century, Serbia rebuilt itself. Schools were founded, the Serbian Orthodox Church regained strength, and a new national identity emerged. By 1878, after years of political maneuvering and further military action, Serbia was finally recognized as an independent nation at the Congress of Berlin. The centuries of foreign rule were over, but Serbia's struggle was far from finished. The dawn of the 20th century brought new challenges. The Ottoman Empire was crumbling, but Serbia was surrounded by rivals. The Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913 saw Serbia join forces with other Balkan states to finally drive the Ottomans out of Europe. It was a hard-fought victory, but one that reshaped the region. Serbia had reclaimed much of its historic lands. The dream of a united South Slavic nation was now closer than ever. But then came 1914, the year that changed the world. On June 28, 1914, a gunshot in Sarajevo set the world on fire. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand by Gavrilo Princip, a young Bosnian Serb, became the spark that ignited World War I. Austria-Hungary, seizing the moment, declared war on Serbia. The Serbian people, outnumbered and surrounded, braced for the storm. What followed was one of the most heroic yet devastating chapters in Serbian history. The Austro-Hungarian invasion was relentless, but Serbia fought back with everything it had. At the Battle of Ser, 1914, the Serbian army achieved an astonishing victory, becoming the first Allied force to defeat the Central Powers. The Battle of Kolubara, 1914, saw another Serbian triumph, as exhausted soldiers launched a desperate counterattack, pushing the enemy back. But by 1915, Serbia faced an impossible fight. Austria-Hungary, now joined by Germany and Bulgaria, launched a massive invasion. Serbia was overrun. With no other choice, the Serbian army, along with thousands of civilians, embarked on one of the most tragic retreats in military history, a march through the frozen mountains of Albania. Starvation, disease, and exhaustion claimed tens of thousands of lives. But those who survived regrouped on the island of Corfu, determined to fight on. And fight they did. By 1918, Serbia, now reinforced and allied with the Entente powers, launched a powerful offensive, breaking through enemy lines and liberating its homeland. The suffering had been unimaginable, but Serbia had emerged, wounded but victorious. The cost was staggering. Over 1 million Serbs, nearly a quarter of the population, were lost. Families were shattered, cities lay in ruins, but Serbia had survived. And from the ashes of war, a new nation was born, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, later known as Yugoslavia. Serbia had fought not just for itself, but for a vision of unity, freedom, and a future where its people would never again live in chains. But as history would soon reveal, freedom is never guaranteed. What is a nation without its soul? Serbia may have fought wars, lost battles, and suffered under foreign rule, but through it all its soul remained unbroken. It was carried in the voices of its people, in the songs of its shepherds, in the prayers whispered within hidden monasteries, and in the words of those who dared to dream of freedom. Serbia's soul is found in its proverbs, passed down from generation to generation, words of wisdom forged in hardship, tempered by faith and strengthened by endurance. Better to die with honor than to live in shame, says one, reflecting the spirit of Prince Lazar at Kosovo. Another warns, even dry leaves cry out when trodden upon. Why should not the downtrodden man? A saying that echoed through centuries of oppression, reminding the Serbian people that even in silence there is resistance. Then there is Serbian poetry, not written on paper but carved into memory, sung by generations. The guslers, wandering bards, travelled from village to village, playing their gusle, a single-stringed instrument, and reciting epic tales. These were no mere songs, they were histories, lessons, warnings. They spoke of Miloš Obilić, the knight who struck down the Ottoman Sultan at Kosovo, of Marko Kraljević, the warrior who defied fate itself. In times of war, these stories gave strength. In times of peace, they reminded Serbs of the price of freedom. The Serbian soul is also deeply spiritual. The Serbian Orthodox Church was more than a religious institution, it was the guardian of national identity. While foreign rulers tried to erase Serbian culture, the monasteries kept it alive. Studenica, Hilandar, Žiča, these were not just places of worship, they were fortresses of faith, sanctuaries of wisdom. Monks copied manuscripts, preserved ancient traditions, and became silent warriors of memory. Through words and song, through prayer and defiance, the Serbian people survived. Even when they had no land to call their own, even when their kings were gone, they remained a nation, not just in borders, but in spirit. Serbia's battles were not only fought with swords, they were fought in the heart, in the mind, in the soul. And that, more than anything, is why Serbia endures. Serbia's story is not just its own. It is intertwined with the fate of nations, the rise and fall of empires, and the ever-changing tides of history. Though small in size, Serbia has often stood at the crossroads of great events, shaping and being shaped by the wider world. For centuries, Serbia looked to Europe for allies, drawing strength from those who shared its values of faith and freedom. The bond between Serbia and England, for instance, runs deeper than most realize. In the First World War, when Serbia stood alone against Austria-Hungary, it was British doctors, nurses and volunteers who travelled across continents to help the wounded. Many of them never returned home, sacrificing their lives for a land they had never known. Serbian children were even sent to Britain to escape the horrors of war, an act of kindness that Serbia never forgot. Serbia's struggles were not only its own, but part of a greater European struggle. The fight against the Ottomans was also the fight of Christendom. The battles against Austria-Hungary and Germany were battles for self-determination, for the right of nations to govern themselves. Time and again, Serbia found itself at the heart of global conflicts, yet time and again it endured. In World War II, Serbia once again became a battlefield. The Nazi occupation was brutal. Towns were burned, civilians executed, entire villages wiped out. But resistance burned fiercely in the mountains. The Chetniks and partisans, though divided, fought against overwhelming odds. The partisans, led by Josip Broz Tito, would eventually emerge victorious, paving the way for the creation of Yugoslavia, a new, united state of South Slavs. The post-war years saw Serbia as part of Yugoslavia, a country that sought to balance between East and West, socialism and independence. It was a time of reconstruction, of modernization, of a new national identity that embraced not just Serbs, but Croats, Slovenes, Bosniaks and others. Yet, as history has shown, unity is fragile, and what was once a great vision eventually fractured into war and separation. Through triumph and tragedy, Serbia has always been part of something greater. It has suffered at the hands of empires, but it has also shaped history itself. Even today, Serbia stands as a testament to resilience, a nation that refuses to be forgotten. Its story is far from over. History often speaks of kings and warriors, of battles and empires, but behind every nation's survival stand the silent, unwavering pillars of strength: its women. In Serbia, where war and hardship have shaped generations, women have been the quiet guardians of endurance, faith, and sacrifice. During the long years of Ottoman rule, Serbian women were more than just caretakers of the home. They were keepers of identity. When men were taken to war, it was the women who preserved the language, the customs, the stories. In whispered lullabies, they sang of lost kings, of battles fought and won, of a time when Serbia was free. In the world wars, Serbian women did not merely wait for their sons and husbands to return. They fought, healed and rebuilt. Many joined resistance movements, smuggling supplies to soldiers, nursing the wounded and even taking up arms. In World War I, some women disguised themselves as men to fight on the front lines. Others, like Flora Sandys, a British woman who joined the Serbian army, became legends of courage. But beyond war, Serbian women have carried their nation forward through sheer resilience. They have been the teachers, the poets, the mothers who ensured that even when Serbia was occupied, its spirit was never conquered. They were and still are Serbia's greatest warriors. Serbia stands today as a nation shaped by both light and darkness, a country that has endured the weight of history, yet refuses to be defined by its suffering. Its past is filled with wars and revolutions, but its future is being written in the hands of those who dare to dream beyond struggle. The scars of history remain, in the fortresses that once guarded against invaders, in the monasteries that once sheltered faith, in the streets of Belgrade, where echoes of past battles still linger. But Serbia is not just a land of memories, it is a land of resilience and renewal. The same rivers that carried warriors now carry new generations toward progress. The same mountains that hid rebels now welcome travelers from around the world. Though small, Serbia's influence stretches far beyond its borders. Its people, scientists, artists, athletes, continue to leave their mark on the world. Its culture, rich with poetry, music, and tradition, remains a testament to a nation that has never surrendered its identity. Through every hardship, Serbia has endured. Through every trial, it has risen. And through every challenge still to come, one truth remains: Serbia will never fade. A land where faith and fire have shaped centuries, where kings once built.
Wow, that was quite detailed, as I would say, you know what I mean? And that's thousands of years of history, thousands of years of struggle and triumph and tribulations and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And still, not too many people know about those places, you know what I mean? All because of the stigma of one era of time, of modern time, that is, you know what I'm saying? But I hope people learn something from this year. I do hope that the more we know about each other, the more we understand each other. That's why I watch these videos, trying to understand. You know, some people may disagree with some things they see there. They may contradict history. They may do all of that, you know what I mean? But in all of it, there's the people, there's us, and we got to learn from our mistakes and make things better. If you guys learned something here today, and if you enjoyed watching this video here with me, drop a like on the video, share the video so that way other people could see and learn something here. You understand what I'm saying? Thing. And of course, you know, somebody thought there are books to be read that you could go read and learn more on your own. Hope you guys are having a good day, okay? Y'all take care of each other. Cool runnings.